Power Book 4 Force second season finale aired on Stars last month. The third season of Power Book 3 Raising Kanan is premiered this month, marking the return of another spin-off of the well-liked property to the network. The origin story of fan-favorite Kanan Stark, who entered the criminal world through his mother, played by Patna Miller, is the focus of the Mackay Curtis-led series. In addition to the release of Season 3, Stars recently revealed that the fourth season's filming has already begun in New York. Third season of Power Book 3 Raising Kanan started off exactly where it left off. Rack and Marvin are suffering from bullet wounds following the Mafia's attack. For the time being, investigators seem to believe Rack and Detective Howard's version, which places the responsibility on the now-deceased Crown Camacho, in order to hide their tracks after raising doubts about the shooting. Kanan and Lulu are starting the season with mental suffering, while Rack and Marvin are dealing with physical problems. After learning that his mother has been lying to him about his father, who is actually Detective Howard and not Rondell Death Con Stark, all of his life, Kanan has lost all faith in her. Lulu, on the other hand, is experiencing guilt and annoyance after Rack informs him that Scratch was not a snitch and was instead killed in Season 2. Rack's reluctance to allow Lulu quit the drug trade in favor of chasing his goals of starting a record label is another factor contributing to Lulu's dissatisfaction. In several instances in Home Sweet Home, Lulu wallows in a bottle of bourbon, reaching his lowest point due to this aggravation. In another instance, Detective Howard killed Detective Burke because he believed it was vital to keep Rack and Kanan safe. Burke made the necessary connections regarding Howard's past, and that was all it took for Howard to turn on her. As Marvin and Jukebox work to mend their relationship, they now have to do so while mourning the passing of Jukebox's mother, Kenya, from Season 2. In addition, we learn about Unique's brother Ronnie, who was just freed from jail. And speaking of Unique, the first episode of Season 3 ended unexpectedly with a sex scene between him and Rack. As the third season opens, Rack and Kanan's relationship is all but gone. After weeks of conjecture, Detective Howard provided Kanan with a paternity test in Season 2, confirming that he is Kanan's father. Kanan's connection with his mother was destroyed by this revelation because he no longer had any faith in her. In Home Sweet Home, Kanan chooses to move in with Famous for the time being since he doesn't want any part of the new house that Rack moves into. In an attempt to help him sell merchandise, he too stops by Famous Plug but is turned away. Kanan is a young adolescent with few options, and it is dangerous for him to go out on the streets by himself without his family's protection. However, Kanan is a cunning youngster, and you can be sure he has a secret up his sleeve. Rack declares in this episode that she is quitting the drug game. As she recovers from the bullet injuries she sustained at the end of Season 2, she makes her decision. She believes that the risks associated with the drug game outweigh the benefits. The news of her leaving, though, seemed like my vow to never drink again after waking up with a severe hangover, given how committed she was to the game. Rack actually built her existence on the drug game. I don't need booze nearly as much as she does. That's why I don't think she'll give up on the game entirely. Although Kanan doesn't believe in her retirement, we'll just have to wait and see if she follows through on her promise. The second example of a broken parent-child bond in Power Book 3 Raising Kanan is the relationship between Rack and Kanan. The first occurred with Marvin and Jukebox in Season 2. When Marvin learned of Jukebox's friendship with Nicole, he became enraged. Ultimately, Marvin expressed regret for his behavior and demonstrated his intentions by enrolling in anger management programs. By the end of Season 2, Jukebox was slowly but surely starting to forgive Marvin. Kenya, Jukebox's biological mother, is shot and killed in the Season 2 finale during an attack at Rack's residence. Despite their damaged ties, Jukebox and Marvin were both affected by Kenya's death. As they mourn Kenya's passing, the two appear to rely on one another. They even give each other a tearful embrace in Home Sweet Home. Although it's regrettable that this had to be the starting point, Kenya's passing and subsequent recovery may be what finally reunites Marvin and Jukebox. Within minutes of the start of Home Sweet Home, it is obvious that Detective Shannon Burke poses a threat to Detective Howard, Rack, and Kanan. The tale of Howard and Rack's love, her pregnancy, and their decision to keep the truth from Kanan and others has all been skillfully put together by Burke. She is also aware that in the first season, Detective Howard was shot by Kanan. In her quest for information on Howard's murky past, Burke bent norms and took shortcuts, which resulted in her being suspended from the police department. After her suspension, a disgruntled Burke eventually meets with Howard, who appears genuinely concerned about her well-being. However, when Burke reveals that she's connected the dots of Howard's past, he fires a gunshot into her head and effectively kills her and her plans of exposing his past. Howard must undoubtedly take all necessary precautions to keep Rack, KANAN, and himself safe, but was killing Burke a step too far? Is there a chance that her death could raise more questions about Howard than the ones that existed when Burke was alive?